anyone who's listening, thanks. This is Foobz Future. I'm the one and only, your local Foobz. You already know who I am. That's all good in that. Don't worry about that shit. Today I'm joined with Matthew Porter from OGLE, the brand. I'm going to say OGLE because although you've got the skate brand and the joinery brand, the thing I like about it is the fact that you've combined the two. They're both the same brand really, and I just think having a wee kind of like skateboard slash clothing brand mixed in with a joinery brand, like we were saying the other day, is that quite a unique thing.
Yeah,
You want to just maybe tell people a little bit about your name, maybe tell them your own name and shit.
yeah. So I'm Matthew Porter. Started up a wee skate brand last year during lockdown, and a wee joinery business since I've been into joinery since I was in high school. And yeah, it's going okay so far. Just started it, named it Ogle, so it keeps it kind of open. Means I can dive into any subject really.
For sure, I think that's definitely important things. I think for, especially like, I think these days as well, like, it's in Scotland just now specifically, even on a government and council level, they're really trying to push entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's really funny because I always have these thoughts about like, isn't it still a bit like colonialist to be like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, and then start going around the world and like help and like doing all these things with other countries? Do you know what I mean? Like why? Obviously, like when I was growing up, I went into engineering and stuff. Like I was doing trade work, and that's quite popular here still. But they're really pushing this entrepreneurship, and I fucking love it. I think it's a lifestyle that I think is amazing, and I think it doesn't mean you can't do any of these things, but I think they're looking to the future and they're seeing a lot of these trades as dying out or not being as important as they used to be. And I think obviously if you're in a trade, especially something like plumbing or electrics or something like that, or joinery or brickwork, it's like you're always going to have a job if you stay at it, really.
Yeah.
It's just like, how much job is there going to be?
Yeah.
Especially in a world where, as someone who's an entrepreneur, like you're aiming to make enough money where you've got enough time where, like, if something goes wrong, you can fix it yourself. Like, really. And so I don't know. There's a lot of things changing on that front, but I like the idea that I like the idea that you blended these two things together, because joinery is not one usually creeps up a lot when it comes to brands. Like a lot of the people I know who are joiners or leckies or things like that, they've just got like Andrew Morrison joiners on the side of the van, and like that's it. And I'm like, why have you not made any effort to like make that cool? I'm like,
That's what I always wonder.
especially because like I'm 28, right? So I was born in '92. So all my mates and that, like, they've grown up in the '90s. I'm like, guys, we can, like, this world is ours now. You can bring all the hip hop in that in, bro. Like, you can get graffiti on the side of your van. It's like if you had, Andrew by the way, I've not got a mate called Andrew Morrison. I've made that name up. If you've got Andrew Morrison joinery, right, and graph on the side of your van,
That
you're
would
the
catch
guy
some attention.
You're the guy I'm going to phone.
Definitely.
I'm not phoning some guy that's just got, Paul Jones brickwork. Like, no, I don't want that. I want.
No offense to like all the other joinery people, but like I kind of see them like, and they just do it for a job. But I mean, not to like sound cocky, but at least for me, like the thing I get out of it is finding it amazing that I can make something and it can be in somebody's house for years, and that's like something I made with my hands, like an idea I had in my head, and I made it like a physical thing.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the joinery is you can come up with any idea at all and make it an actual thing, and then it's there for years. Because I try and build stuff to last, so it's kind of like a bit of a legacy. But
I feel like our country, Scotland specifically, is full of all these like tradesmen who have garnished these like incredible skills, and they're just like, and you're kind of just raised on this idea that like it's a valuable skill, but it's just your job. Do you know what I mean? Like they come in for work, and the last thing they want to do is mere work. But they've all got wee workshops and that. They're all fucking about with wee hangs and everything. But at the end of the day, it's like they're going to job, but they're going to work all day and they're using these skills. And it's like, it's a change of the mindset for me from like people aren't aware of how much we are like a war country. Like our system is built on factory workers and, and factory workers essentially, from school onward, you're dealt to like go to work, do your job, 9 to 5, blah, 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 no fucking questions. And a lot of those people who are doing those things are very moany about the people who are in charge of them. But it's like, you could be in charge of yourself. Like, someone is your boss. when you're working a 9 to 5 job. Someone owns Tesco, someone owns someone owns all these things, and you're like, well, like people don't know this. Farm Foods is a Scottish supermarket, for example. And it's like you could, if you're pissed off that Tesco isn't doing enough for your local community or whatever, open your own fucking supermarket. No one is stopping you.
Yeah.
If you can find a way around their little fucking rope, their little fucking, their little hoops, see what the fuck makes you happy. And at the end of the day, if you're someone like a joiner who's got all these woodworking skills, and it's like, right, okay, so I'm going out all day and I'm spending my whole day fucking 8 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night putting up other folks' hussies for a fairly decent wage so I can go on holiday to Alicante with my wife and that. It's like, why not just use those skills for something you actually want to do? Because when you do that, I think you get the feeling that me and you get, that when you make something with your bare hands, it's for you, that someone else is going to buy off you.
There's no like,
it's a whole other feeling. It's a whole other feeling.
Yeah,
it's a whole other feeling. And when you do actually make pretty decent money with that as well, you're like fucking laughing.
Yeah.
You're like, why is anyone doing anything else? Why is anybody working at 9 to 5 when you can do something like that? Make something for yourself
and do stuff that you love? Like,
yeah. The thing is, it's a different mindset. Like I know people in that they just want an easy life. They want people, it's like people who join the army. I always say it's like when I was 17, 18, I was going to join the Navy. And it was because like I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, really. I wasn't raised in a world where I was taught to be creative in the sense of making up my own routine and figuring out how I was going to do my day-to-day life. And for me, the army seemed like a brotherhood. It seemed like a family. It seemed like, it's got structure. And at the end of it, I'm going to come out. I'm going to have all these skills. I'm going to have all these friends and family. I'm going to be like big and buff. And it seems like a dream come true when you're a fucking 17-year-old boy and can't figure it out. Which, is the way that's marketed to young people is a whole other fucking conversation, especially considering you can join when you're fucking 16. But yeah, I didn't really know how to make that routine. And so I appreciate that some folk just want to have a nice, easy life and they didn't want to care about work. They just want to spend time with their family and friends, and that 9 to 5 job just gets it done. Fine for them. And we're still going to need those people for the very foreseeable future. So at the end of the day, they're frontline workers right now. So it's hard to not be appreciative of everything they've done.
Yeah. I mean, some people do enjoy that. I mean, yeah, like you said, some people enjoy being able to just turn off at 5.
Yeah. So let's speak a little bit. So you're at uni first of all.
Yeah.
And what are you studying again?
Business management with entrepreneurship at Napier. So hopefully it'll all tie in.
I don't think it'll be. I think for people who are when they're younger, people who are struggling to figure out what to do, especially when you're being forced into going to uni. If you go into business management of some sort, it's pretty much always going to be a benefit for your entire life, because at some point you're probably going to need to know some of this. In fact, if you study business management, it's probably going to be the thing that might kick you to the 9 to 5 routine, because you'll be like, well, God, if I can do this myself, I would work for someone. So the joinery stuff you've been doing for a long time. So with the OGLE brand, what came first?
Definitely the joinery.
The joinery came first.
Yeah. That's what I've been doing the longest. The skateboard, it was like I was skateboarding to get away from the joinery because I was enjoying the joinery. But when it came like a job, it was like I need something to take a break from it. Otherwise, I'd be in the workshop 24 hours a day. So I was like, I'll go for a wee skate. And then I started thinking, well, I want a wee custom skateboard for myself. So I started painting them.
And I noticed that wee backdrop. That was a nice move.
Yeah, I've got them all on my wall here. That's all the different designs we've got so far.
Yeah, they're nice. I do like them. Actually, it's quite. The one right behind you that kind of looks like a bunch of signatures looks fucking smart.
Oh yeah, that was one done by my mate who's got a company called Mousy in Glasgow. But he mainly does clothes. But since he wanted to start with skateboards, he got in touch, and it's going pretty well so far. So.
There's a lot of skaters just now who want to get into brands and stuff, and you know what? If they're gonna try really hard and they're gonna go down an ethical route of making and selling clothes, and they're gonna contribute back to the community, I really want to endorse them. But it's really hard when a brand's just putting an artist on clothes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these days, I can get my own artists on my own clothes. Like, you know, I can get a single t-shirt made online for 35, 40 quid delivered to my house within 2 weeks with my own design on it. You know, and it's not going to make you any money doing that, but at the end of the day, you can do that if that's what you want to do.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah.
So I think it's getting to that point where, like, when I do want to endorse a brand, especially a skate brand, I want to see them branching out and doing something else as well. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I liked about you, is the fact that you'd done this joinery and the fact that you actually like doing it. I was like, what a way to kind of like blend the kind of traditional workforce with what's now quite a
Yeah.
popular and part of life. Because, you know, people always say to me like, oh, skaters this, skaters that. I'm like, do you realize there's no such thing as a skater? Like,
Mm.
all these people have jobs and they go to school and they go to uni and they live normal lives. Skateboarding is literally just the thing that we do in our spare time because it makes us happy. And we know that most people with a skateboard in their hand are sound cunts.
Yeah.
Kind of like a
Definitely, definitely.
telltale sign. It's like, it is a bit of like a kind of clique thing. If you see someone walking down the street with a skateboard and you're a skater, you just fucking starting that conversation is a piece of piss.
Oh yeah.
You know, people always talk about traveling and stuff like that, and I always say to them, like, look, if you go traveling if you're a skater and you go traveling, you don't need to plan where you're going to live. You don't need to plan where you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, any of that shit. You just need to walk up to a local skate park and ask the boys, ask the lassies, ask whoever's there, and just be like, look, if anyone's got a place I can crash tonight, they'll probably just be like, "Hi, man, just come into mine." Sorted. Do you know what I mean?
Found his people.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and that's kind of what I like about it, is it's a community. It
Mm.
really is a kind of community, and you know, there's other communities around the world, and people get involved in these things where they could similarly go and do these things, but they're not quite as harshly judged as the skaters.
Yeah, yeah. I think we need to build up that community a wee bit more because, like, I think all the people that are creative, they've all got the same kind of drive and passion about something, and that's what kind of links us all together. Like, even
Yeah,
if it's music, art, skateboarding, you've all got that kind of that passion inside you about something, and it's all kind of linked with the creativity stuff. Like,
I, fi- I find the creative people I like the most also, I don't know if maybe it's just me, but they generally tend to have quite a lazy side as well.
oh yeah, I definitely do. I
Like,
definitely have a
'cause
lazy side.
I see people who are like artists and who are creatives who are like super fucking productive, and like everything they make is really crisp and really nice and really clean, but it doesn't connect with me on an emotional level when I see it. I'm like, look, I love that you're working pure fucking blah, 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 getting all this work done and like creating all these amazing pieces of artwork and stuff. But when I see them, I don't really feel the same, you know?
Hmm.
There's a difference. When an artist is really, really productive, but also really, really quiet, as in you never fucking hear from this cunt, then I'm kind of like, oh, this guy's actually just doing his work. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Doing their work. Try to get better at using the they pronoun for describing people.
Yeah.
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Um, Whereas when someone is kind of like lazy and only produces like one piece of work a month, but it's fucking shit hot, then I'm like, this guy, I wish this person would do more. Because I'm like, they've got people, they realize like your relationship with time as a creative is extremely important. Maybe you
Yeah.
don't even realize this yet, but you need to manage your time very well. And there is rushing stuff for productivity
Mhm.
value, and there is taking your time and becoming more aware of what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think for artists, that that what makes you a good or popular artist or whatever, or you know, whatever it is you want to be, it's a balance of these things. Like, everything's a bit of a balance in life.
I get that with the joinery actually. Like when I'm trying to finish an order, sometimes I'll get it done like super fast and it'll still the quality will be amazing. But then with other things, it takes weeks and weeks and it'll just kind of drag on. But I feel like it'll take the time that it needs, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Like if it's a more complicated kind of design or something, it'll take a couple more weeks, but it'll be worth the extra time in the
Uh-huh.
end. And then some things I can kind of not rush, but definitely do quicker, but the quality's still there. It's also just with my motivation because sometimes it's like you can work for weeks and then it's like you just want to take days off and just do nothing.
I know
But
it's funny in a world of like mental health and stuff as well. You know, it creeps up in our day to day life a lot more these days, and like
definitely, definitely.
working is so much more. I think people are just more aware of what's going on in their bodies, and I think in terms of health, it's going to be extremely valuable for us to
Mhm.
think like that for the longevity of our life. But at the same time, it does mean that your work schedule ends up kind of going around. your health schedule. You know, if you're not quite feeling
Yeah.
up to it, you don't really want to do anything. If you are feeling up to it, you do it. And I do think part of my mental health journey has been like, look, when you're unwell, do your best to get well, and as long as you're doing that, you'll kind of already you'll be on this journey of health. And eventually, you just reach this point. If you've been someone who's been unwell mentally, you'll reach this point where you're like, actually, the best thing I can do right now is focus on my work. Like my routines are good, my body's starting to feel nice, I'm starting to eat right. Let's just stick to regular meals and blah blah, and actually get the fucking work done. And for me personally, I'm hitting a schedule that I really like, even though it's a bit chop and change right now. It's getting there, you know.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing I need to work on, getting the
Yeah.
schedule.
How do you find balancing your work just now with that, with the brands and with your uni and stuff like that?
It's not easy. Like this week, I'm behind on uni, so I'm planning to try and catch up on that today. But it's just with uni as well, because it's online and some of it's recorded. They're just kind of like, oh, just do it whenever, as long as you watch
You're
it
only
before.
19 as well, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you're just 19.
So and yeah, it's difficult because customers with the joinery side, they don't understand that I've got a skate brand and I'm also at uni, so they're kind of
Yeah.
expecting things like fast and like they think I'm just doing this full time. So sometimes I have to explain and be like, give me a couple extra days and I'll get it done in the end. But it's definitely I don't have much free time these days. But
What were you going to do
got
with
to
it
do what you got
anyway?
to do.
Just sit on the
Exactly.
couch.
Yeah. At least hopefully this will invest in my future. Put in the work
I'm right,
now
but
and
that's
hopefully
one
one
of the
day it'll
reasons
pay
why,
off.
that's why I wanted to get you on the show, is because the fact you're only 19 and you're at uni and you're doing these things that, even though they're small and maybe aren't making you a full living yet,
Yeah.
there's potential there. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely, definitely.
Who drew the OGLE logo? Just out of curiosity,
Oh, that was me.
was it?
Yeah, it was just some
Because
stupid little sketch.
it's not an overly complicated thing, but the thing I love
No.
about it is the fact that you chop and change the colors up. I just think like having something unique that changes like that is so
Yeah.
kind of cool.
That's how I
Um,
distinguish the two brands because like the joinery's kind of blue and the skate stuff's kind of like an orange.
do you,
But
do
it's
you ever
still
think?
linked, if that makes sense.
Do you ever think that maybe, I don't know if it's Pyote specifically, or if maybe that's just the brand for me that is quite big right now in our community. But I think there seems to be a popularity with wanting to spell your name in outrageous ways. Now, in marketing and in advertising and graphic design, that's always been a thing. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Coca-Cola, like things like cola, like words like these were all brand names eventually. You know what I mean? Even
Mm.
something like a Hoover. It's
Yeah.
not a Hoover, it's a vacuum cleaner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The word Hoover is just like,
It's a brand name actually.
it's a
Yeah.
brand name. And there's loads of brand names that are weird, and it adds value to the company because people have
Yeah.
to figure out in their head how to say it, and
Mm.
that ingrains the brand in people's minds. And so there's a little bit of that there. For me, Pyote has brought that to the skate community here and the younger generations, at least for me.
Yeah.
Did you think about anything like that when you were designing it, or did you just think, like, this is a cool name, it's universal, it doesn't put me in a lane, I'm just going to roll with it, or
It was a wee bit like that, but
you
I
get your
actually
mates around and have like a big think tank?
we did actually. We were just sitting one day and we were thinking like, what can I name this? Because we went through so many different like names,
uh-huh.
and we eventually found ogle, and it's actually like a proper word in the dictionary, and it used to mean like back in like the 90s when you'd like have like a stereotypical like attractive secretary. They'd say, "Oh, I'd ogle at my secretary," which means like to look at in love.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like they
yeah.
usually use it as like a demeaning way for like looking at women. But I
Uh-huh.
was like, let's change it because we don't want any of that stuff anymore. So
Yeah,
let's make it like you're looking at something and you're loving it, but an object because well, people aren't objects. So
yeah.
instead, do it. It's a skateboard. So you're
So
like ogling
that's
at a
cool.
skateboard because you love well, hopefully the look of it, which is the
Yeah,
whole reason behind the name.
I really like that.
But
I have used the word ogle a few times, and I've got quite a
yeah,
wide vocabulary sometimes, and ogle is a nice one, to be honest. I think like it really is up to interpretation. I mean, like when I use the word ogle now,
mhm,
I can use it in a variety of things, but for me, it's kind of like, to ogle does mean to like look at and appreciate, but like
yeah,
in a quick way, which
yeah,
I think like as a guy, I mean, I think I'm a straight guy as well, so obviously like if I was to not look at women, there'd be something wrong with me. Do you know what I mean? So I
yeah.
do ogle in a sense, but like I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if you're not a man
No,
who's objectifying women. I'm not going
yeah,
around doing it on purpose to do anything to women. I'm just doing it because I'm a
no,
man and I'm
yeah,
interested. I'm attracted to women, funnily enough. Um, So an ogle to me is kind of like, if you're ogling someone, it's kind of just like, I just give them a wee kind of up and down and be like, well,
Oh,
yeah,
not too
cool,
bad, not too bad.
cool pads, and then like shift to the next one. Oh man, honestly, like I'm so glad you've done that as well because I do feel like I'm one of these people as well. Like I'm kind of all for the women, man, and all for the minority communities, and I feel like it's now my duty now, being a straight white guy in Scotland, to be like I have to be on their side now, like
Oh,
because
definitely,
I'm
definitely.
not on this side. I'm not on the side I'm supposed to be on, or that people think I'm on.
I mean,
And I
we've got
think,
it easiest as well, so it's like, what we complaining about?
um, but yeah, no, it's quite interesting you've done that. Actually, I like that. Um, what do you think? What do you think you're going to focus on? I think I'm also going through this thing right now with the podcast of being like, do I make this the primary focus or do I make my other business that I've got on the go a primary focus
Mhm.
and make this more of a side project? And it's quite hard
You,
trying to balance all those ideas. And for you, although your uni work you can do whenever you want,
yeah,
I'm assuming you're still going to have to sit through kind of the odd lecture and you're still going to have to stick to some kind of schedule with deadlines
yeah,
and all this kind of stuff.
deadlines and tests and stuff. So
How good do you imagine that time? Do you use a calendar or?
yeah, usually I just put it on the calendar and I'll keep track of when things are due. And sometimes, I'll just it's not the best way, but sometimes I work better under pressure, which is kind
Yeah,
of bad.
when do you get up in the morning? I bet you get up at like 12 o'clock.
Nah, I try and get up at 9. I try and get up at 9.
I
But
do. I
yeah,
think
yeah, sometimes I'm all right at that. Sometimes I'm all right at that. I'm actually, yeah, I'm quite good at getting in the morning. So I'll usually get up, I don't know, check emails, try and get some work done for uni, then do a bit of, have a look at joinery work and sort out orders for that. And then, I don't know, paint a skateboard or two. That's usually my rough day. But I think I'm going to prioritize probably on the skate stuff now. I'm keen to try and get some like videos done. I've not got enough like we skate videos. I think that's the best way of like
for yourself or for other
advertising.
people?
Hmm?
For yourself or for other people? Like, are you making videos because you want to document your skating, or are you making videos from a brand standpoint of wanting to highlight other skaters in your brand? Like, see, for example,
Yeah,
with Foobz Future, I would love to be able to get a wee skate team together at some point. Like, I've got
yeah,
aspirations for a skate shop and a skate brand and all these things as well. But I'm definitely looking at it as a business perspective and bringing my community into, like, I want to make a
yeah,
business that interacts with my community in a nice way. I don't want to be a skater.
mhm,
I don't want to be a designer. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
want to be a business that's in the skateboard community because I feel like on a personal level, everything that business does, it's going to have a bit of me in there, and it's going to be for the skaters. So
yeah,
when it comes to making the content, I think about getting my friends and my friends who are or friends who are people who are really good skaters. I kind of see myself as taking them, putting them in my product that's made by my other artist friends, and bringing it all together and making it a solid product to give. I don't
yeah.
necessarily
That's
see
the idea.
myself in any of that product. Do you know what I mean?
Nah, yeah, because even with like the OGLE stuff, I've not really shown my face that much because I'm trying not to put myself as the main focus.
No, I think it's a
It's more
part.
like the
Your
skate
brand
stuff.
becomes a part of you, but
Yeah,
it's really about everyone else. Every business is
definitely.
really about
Yeah,
giving value to the customer or the client, I think, at the end.
yeah. Because once the restrictions and stuff like ease a wee bit, we can meet up with people again. I'd be super keen to get like a skate group going and like just like a weekly skate meetup or something. Because I'm not that good at skateboarding. But if I met like people that are a wee bit more skilled, like I'd love to learn off them and just learn some new tricks or get better. Because I know
Sure.
there's a lot of people that are I don't know a wee bit like they're just getting into skating, but they're
Mhm.
not too sure. Like they want someone to like show them what to do or how to do new tricks and stuff. And I just think it'd be good to get a group of people at different levels
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we can all kind of work together, which would be good.
I think that's the thing I've realized about, like, when you're younger, you're kind of stuck in a friend circle, and I don't mean
Yeah.
stuck. Your friends are really important. It's so funny because when I speak to young people, it's like they honestly feel like when one of their friends becomes really distant, they feel like they're losing a piece of their soul.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's only because when you're a young person, you thrive on group mentality because it's safety in numbers.
yeah.
As you get older, you become a bit more individualistic and you start to lean towards the family ideals, especially at my age. I'm 28, coming up 30. Like I'm definitely starting to think about relationships and how I'm going to like support a family and all these things. They just
Mhm.
you just it's true. You just seem to want them eventually. You go through years of being like, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have a family. I'm never going to do none of that shit. That's not for me. But that's not how it works out. Like you get to that point where you're like, actually, no, I do want a family. I do want a wee bairn running about that's like calls me dad and shit. Like you just want all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
At
So
least
I
I'm
think
a wee
like,
bit free at this age. At least
what was that?
I'm a wee bit free at this age. Just do whatever
Exactly, but that's the thing is
I want.
like I think it's important like one of the things about becoming an adult is when you become that kind of leader on purpose and
Yeah.
you put together the group and you bring together the friends. And one of the communities that really inspires me with this is the LGBT community. A lot of those people feel out of place and someone was telling me recently about like, oh, skateboarding used to be the underground community where like everyone came together and there was hip hop and rap and all this shit. And I was like, that is the LGBT community now. I was
Mhm.
like, they are the minority that do feel like they're out of place and they don't feel like they've got their community to the point where they don't even feel comfortable in their own bodies that they've been given. But when you go online and you look at some of the initiatives that these people are putting together at crazy young ages, like there's the Queer Skate Collective, I'm sure it's called on Instagram,
Sure.
and they do a kind of weekly thing where they were meeting up and all the rest of it. Obviously, when we were allowed to, they were meeting up and everything. And they were being fucking on it with the rules and regulations. We wanted to help people. Like it's just honestly such a nice community. And it
Mhm.
and it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, we expect the underground community to be grimy and like oppressed and angry. But it was only like that because when you look at the underground communities of the past, a lot of the time it was men.
Yeah.
The men were the underground communities. You know what I mean? Even all the hip hop artists of the 90s and 2000s, as much as there was a lot of female rappers in the hip hop community, people will just roll off Biggie and Tupac like it's nothing. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like as much as Fuji La gets rocked around, Lauren Hill's name's not getting chucked about everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm talking about in pop culture. I'm talking about in popular knowledge. I'm not talking about in hip hop knowledge. Obviously, hip hop heads like they know their shit. They do know some of these artists. I mean, one of my favorite rappers of all time is Rhapsody. She's just like probably one of the most underrated rappers to have ever existed. She's pretty
Mhm.
much like if Kendrick Lamar was a bird. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
our music, the people she works with, our community people, and the way she raps is just absolutely fucking unreal.
Mhm.
But what I'm taking from these communities is like obviously I love what they're doing. What I'm taking from them is like you at any point you can be the leader and just set up a group and get the people there as long as you're just a sound cunt and make people want to go.
Yeah.
Obviously with the LGBT community, I think they are much more inclined to go to these group events because they don't feel like they have groups. Whereas obviously if you're a straight white guy who's 18, 19 who wants to learn how to skate, you're actually almost seen as a bit of a fucking poser and whatever because like, you can't skate in that. And it's like, well, I'm trying to learn, but you
Yeah.
won't let me in your communities to do so without being judgy as fuck.
Yeah. That's what I found a lot.
One of the things I like about Bristol Square though is people at Bristol aren't like that. And a lot of the
Yeah.
skaters aren't like that when you actually speak to them. I just think you have to do and
Yeah.
stop caring about the judgments. You just have to do it. You have to push yourself past that and just go, fuck it, I'm just going to go and do it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like
I
we've
think
got
it's a bit of a mind game.
matching shirt combos on right now, bro.
Oh, I.
And the wee tartan
But
shirts. Oh, I still got the wee Scottish. What? Scottish. Yeah, so I think you should put together a wee group, man. Like, all it is a wee Instagram group. You know what I mean? Like, you've got a page
Yeah.
with a bunch of followers. Your mates have got pages with a bunch of followers. All you need to do is like, I bet there's 2 or 3 of your mates who, even if they're cocky arseholes, would still be like, "Aye, I'll give you a hand in this, man," because they want to be different, you know.
Yeah. But I definitely think it would benefit some people because I've got a lot of mates that like want to get into skating, but they're just a wee bit intimidated. They're like they see people out on the streets and it's just like
Yeah,
they just feel like they don't want to put the board on the floor because they're like, there's no way I can ever get to that, be that good, or even they're just scared of falling over, which is
I
like
love that this is
everybody
all
does.
about skating as
Everybody
well.
does.
It's fucking hilarious, man. Like, honestly, like, skating's become pop culture, and people are like, "Oh, I really want to do it, but I don't want to be judged and all the rest of it." And I'm kind of sitting in the background, being like, "All these cunts want to skate. This is fucking amazing."
Yeah,
And I
nah,
never
but
grew up with skating as well, man. Like, I'm 28 now. I didn't get into skating until I was like 23, 24.
yeah,
Maybe even a bit later than that. I've only skated for maybe 3, 4 years at max.
mhm,
And even then, it's like, you know, I can barely ollie over shit. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
for me, it's not really about the level of skill. It's about the community and about why you're doing it and what you're, you know, and just enjoying yourself. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
I
have
always
to
have a
be.
good time when I'm out.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. I worry right now because it seems to be like in pop culture, things always get taken up by the masses. And like it's good because, like I said, those super fucking productive people will do amazing things, and before you know it, we'll have the Coca-Cola of skateboarding in Scotland, and all this kind of shit happens. Um, but I worry because what happens with pop culture is you get a lot of people whose mind isn't working that way, and they try to latch on, they try to follow it, and it's like that's not really what it's about. It's about doing your
Yeah.
own thing. And like the whole reason these things become popular culture is because these people deviated, did their own shit, and over time that shit has become the entertainment that the older generation then want to watch. You know what I mean? It's like for me, I like obviously a lot of young people are into skating these days, but the reality is it's the older people who set the foundations always.
Yeah.
And they never really get to be the same level of fame as they do when something becomes pop culture. And skating's definitely one of those things that's up there. Have you ever thought about with your joinery moving into making ramps and stuff like that?
I've actually been really keen to try some because I've like been looking into it and it shouldn't be that difficult.
No, I mean I know a few people I could probably put you in touch with who make a few wee bits and bobs like.
Yeah.
I'll make a wee note.
I've been making like even just like board racks as well. I've been doing some of them. And eventually I'd like to start getting to making the skateboards myself. But I've been researching into like veneers and stuff and like the whole process of how a skateboard's made.
Yeah, because you
Um,
need to like layer it and you need to get the right kind of glue and the right kind of pressure and all this
yeah.
kind of stuff. But I mean, it's not impossible.
No, that's what if somebody can do it, then if anybody can do it, then you can do it. Really, is the mentality I usually have. Like it's not impossible
Exactly.
if somebody else is doing it. There's a way to like, and there's a process. I know what you've got to do to
Sure.
figure it out.
And I know, like, it's funny because some people are obviously going to still, people are always going to point out the fact that things aren't good for the planet. But the
Mm.
reality is anything good for the planet? I mean, those people who are telling you things are bad for the planet are going to use their phone to go online and tell you that things are bad for the planet, which
At least, at least if I'm
hypocritical.
doing
It's
it
like, look,
myself.
I'm obviously we're making something out of wood with a little with a little metal truck and some wheels. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like it's no the most damaging thing for the planet. And there is
No.
trees that we can grow easily within our lifetime to support us. The idea of stuff being bad for the planet and everything and wanting to be sustainable and wanting to be economic and all the rest of it, it's really hard trying to juggle that stuff. What do you think about when you're working with your brand? Like you mentioned the other day, you were having trouble finding suppliers and stuff like that. What kind of things are you struggling with, and what kind of things are you trying to do in terms of looking after the world?
Well, I've been looking into a little bit of clothing, and it's good going the sustainable route, but it's a lot more expensive
Yeah,
because obviously it's not mass produced. It's not there's like it's not got from cheap like farmers and stuff like that. It's like properly made. But obviously that means you need to pay people a fair wage. Um, but it's just I really want to go down that route, but it seems like it's almost easier if you do it yourself because you can control it a lot more.
yeah,
So I've been looking into like screen printing for t-shirts because it means if there's any waste or anything that comes in, I have control over that. I know if it gets recycled. I know if it gets like reused. Because like with the joinery stuff, any scraps I don't throw out. I don't like throw them away. I'll like try and make something out of them, even if it's just like a little bit of wood. I'll keep it because eventually I'll use it. And I can try and use. I used to use like pallet and stuff because that was like it was just going to get thrown out anyway. So I'd
yeah.
take a pallet for free and just build it into something. And that's how I
Oh
made
man,
like the first thing I made, the coffee table.
yeah. Remember I was telling you last week that my flatmate Angus has built this little contraption above his bed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So over here it's kind of like a storage situation, and over here it's a thing,
Hmm.
but it's made out of an old wooden futon.
That's what I'm
Like
talking about, reusing
he's
stuff.
literally put two beams across, and he's
Hmm.
just laid like a futon, like a futon bed's like a couch that folds into bed, and it's
Hmm.
got wooden slats. Well, he's literally just placed that over the two beams and then built it into place. So that's the thing there. I mean, like in Scotland specifically, like we're fucking big on upcycling. Like
Oh, I love it.
we're
Love
like
it.
the
Yeah.
next fucking Canada, man. We're like we want to make everything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, even my flatmate's bed is on pallets. Like his mattress is just on pallets loaded to the ground, which I love that. There's something really
That is a
nice
good way
about
of
having a
doing it.
bed
Like,
really low down.
yeah.
It's funny because it's actually quite. I would really like to have my bed up high, but it's more because like my bed for me, because I went through a really bad phase of depression and stuff. My bed's just become this place of like I go there literally to sleep.
Hmm.
Don't want to be. I don't want to be in my bedroom any longer than 8 hours. I
Yeah.
like get in there, get my fucking sleep done, get the fuck out again. Like I get bored.
Hmm.
I don't know how that would work in a relationship yet. I'm not that far ahead. But yeah, no, it's good that you're thinking about it at least. But I know what you mean. It is hard. I think. See, when it comes to making clothes and manufacturers and screen printing and things like that,
Hmm.
obviously you are still quite young, and one of these things, obviously, with timing is like you don't really need to rush. You know, if you've got somewhere to stay and you're not overly struggling, then I feel like you need to rush because I think, like I said, all these things are becoming more popular, and you're not going to be the only person thinking about buying screen printing equipment. And the
Definitely.
last thing I want to see happen is 500 people buy screen printing equipment and it
Yeah.
all go to waste because we only ever really needed two. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? To make this to make the same amount of kit.
Hmm.
So I definitely keep making notes to do some research. But I think for me, as much as I want to be focusing on where the product's going to come from and stuff, my main focus right now has been finding the artists that I want to work with and things like that.
Yeah.
Because I know that the ethical clothing's there. I know that it exists in the UK, which obviously is going to cut down on manufacturing costs and it's going to cut down on delivery and all these other things. But like you said, these technologies are new technologies, you know what I mean? Recycling clothing and using like inks that are good for the planet and stuff like
Yeah.
this, you know, to make all this stuff high quality clothing that you can have and look after. It's new technology really,
Hmm.
and that's expensive for
Yeah.
us and for the customer. Doesn't necessarily mean that the customer. I think what it is like the customer, because of the way the market works, we still have to compete on the price, and that's the problem. Is
Yeah.
that these things are going to cost us more, and like you know, Hayut is not shy in putting the price up a little bit because the quality, you know, because he knows the quality is amazing and he knows
Hmm.
it's worth the value and he knows people have the money to do it. But also with his brand, when you see what he does in terms of charity work and all the rest of it, like also he's like just a top night, he's just a top lad. You know what I mean? He's a nice dude, and so like that makes me want to buy that stuff. I personally don't buy a lot from anyone really because I don't know, having gone through a period of homelessness, I'm still kind of on my journey of self-employment, so I'm not in a spending mode right now. I'm in a saving mode
Hmm.
now. But for younger people who've got that little bit extra income and a little bit of disposable income, it's one of those brands I definitely think is worth buying and it's worth looking at for inspiration, especially for people such as yourself.
Definitely. Yeah. It's been
I think
pretty inspiring. I think he's got the like bonus of having the time with him. Like, because Payne's been around for a while. So like, obviously, I don't think he could have
it
gone
has, but
straight away with
if
them
you
high
know Robbie,
prices.
like he's a pretty fucking like he wants to get shit done like right fucking now.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I've never really. I didn't speak to him too much about business, to be honest. Like you know, like you were saying before with other brands, like when you're trying to start your own shit, they seem less reluctant to talk to you. But we've
Mhm.
always had a good relationship, me and him. Like when we have spoken, we do have good chats. But it, I struggle with this, and I get the feeling he might. But I want shit to be. I want to make like 20 t-shirts and they be gone like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the life isn't like that when you're a fucking like when you're someone like us who's a bit fucking pinging all the time and just want to get shit done. That's not what life is actually like. I've realized, you know, most people are
Yeah.
much slower than that, and it takes a little while for you to get through these things. That's why with the podcast and things like that, and my brother's want to do a bit of streaming on his games and stuff. I keep saying to him, he's like, "Oh, I want to get." He's like, "I want to get a few good videos," and people are like, "Oh, I want to get a few good episodes," and I'm like, "I'm not bothered. I'm just going to start putting them up because it's up to
Yeah.
me." Like, you know, the quality maybe isn't where I want it to be, and you know, I maybe haven't got the certain like prestige of guests that I want to have on. But it's not about that for me. It's about making the content. It's about making the effort, and it's about like
Yeah.
putting that effort in. It's like, look, yeah, my podcast's only amazing, but I've got 5 episodes. How many episodes have you got? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
It's
what it
something.
really
It's
comes
like,
down to. Like, that's why, like, I mentioned like Gary Vee last week because he's this kind of like fucking just get it done attitude.
mhm.
People, I think, get confused by that because they think that when you've got that much money, it's so much easier to just go bang, 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 bang. But when you're starting off, things are a bit slow, and I think that's okay. I think that's
Yeah.
fine. Like one of the things I want young people to know who are listening to this is like, it's all right just to start and take your time. just didn't worry about what other folk are doing and just focus on your own craft and focus on what it is you want to do. Like, it's taken me almost 28 years to realise that I'm actually I've become a good conversationalist and that this could actually be a career for me. Someone said to me recently, have you thought about going on the radio? I was like, no, really. But now that you've said it, yes. I would
Yeah.
fucking love to go on the radio. I think I'll be class. Like, as long as I could swear and it was like late night radio, I'd be like, damage. Play some good tunes and that. Fuck, I can make my own radio. I mean, there's obviously, oh, I'm telling you what, I'm going to make another wee note here on my piece of paper.
Make a radio station.
There's already a radio station. It's called EHFM. They just need top quality acts. I think put me in a room with someone who knows how to slap a good hip hop tune on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If me and that guy, dream team right there, I might have to hit up my mate Gareth. So what's I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to get on the show is you're young, you're at uni, you're starting these two brands. Where are they at? I mean, obviously you said to me the joinery's making a little tiny bit of money and the skate brand's doing a little bit all right, but where are they at in terms of your life and, you know, do you see yourself finishing uni? Are you going to make money off these things? Or like, what's the plans? What's the plans, my man?
So, well, I'm hoping the reason I started it during uni is so that I can use the stuff that I'm learning in practice, which I hope it makes uni a wee bit easier. Because if the
especially when you're studying business and entrepreneurship, that's a belted idea. That's a belted idea.
Because then it's like I can actually, in my essays, I can say, oh, this process actually does work. This theory does work. But I'm hoping that if I keep working on them whilst I'm in uni, then by the time I finish, I can just go full time into them. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I've done business management. There's plenty of jobs that involve business management.
Of course.
So I'll hope that it works. But I can't really see
failure's staying down, by the way. It's how you get back up. So
yeah, I can't really see me not see me failing, but it's like I see failure as like something you choose. Like if it fails, you can always start again or redo.
In this country, for people like us, that is absolutely the facts. You know, when you look at what, like I said, when you look at what minority communities have to go through, LGBT, people of color, like what you see, what's happened with the African American community in America, it's like even though they're doing so well, their people are still absolutely suffering. For people like us, if you're gonna get knocked down and stay there, it's your fucking choice, man. You've made that choice to be there because every single piece of help is there for you. Obviously, I think one of the things we suffer from, that the whole world suffers from in some sense, is mental health issues, and that affects you regardless of whether you've got. It doesn't matter where you're from, who you are. It doesn't matter. Everyone can be affected by that one. And in Scotland, I feel like that help is there, but it's really hard to access. And again, it's kind of like school. The help that's there is not made for everyone, and that I think is a big problem for us in total. But the reality is, if you're fairly sound of mind and you get knocked down in business and you just stay down, then it's your own fault. You're staying there. There's no other reason. You can walk up to Business Gateway, you can get loans, you can build your credit score. You've got so much opportunity, especially in Scotland, that anyone sitting down right now, it's like it's up to them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've got pretty high hopes of the future. I just got to keep going, I guess.
For sure. Yeah. Have you got? I mean, it's so funny because I know you're at that age where, like, I was watching TV yesterday, and there was an episode where, like, the young couple were like kind of becoming like adults, and you know they wanted to do something that was just like stupid. It's like no thought, and so they have this idea, and they have this quick debate about whether they should do it, and they're like, no, let's not think, let's just go. And when you're younger, that's so much more the mentality. You're just like, nah, I'm just going to go, man. Like, I've got fuck all to lose, blah, blah. When you get a bit older and you get more to lose, it becomes a lot harder to kind of keep going in that sense. So for anyone a bit older than you, who's maybe closer to my age or above, or thereabouts, like, it's still your choice whether or not you're going to sit down. Like, you still have to decide that, really. But for me, it takes a lot more. I find I'm having to battle the side of my brain that wants to plan shit all the time and just go for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
It's way that you just go, and you're overthink every single thing. And I think trying to overcome that overthink is a big problem in becoming an adult. That's probably the most complicated thing about.
I struggle with that because, like, even like small decisions, that sometimes you'll spend hours trying to decide what to do.
I know, bro. Honestly, you don't know what thinking is yet.
Nah.
You've never had a thought in your life. Wait till you get to that. Like, what the hell? And then it's funny because I honestly feel like once you get to about 28, 30, it starts going back again.
Yeah.
Starts becoming they're stupid again. Yeah, I just sat and solved the bottom two layers of a Rubik's Cube while we're sitting having this conversation, by the way.
Damn, that's impressive. That is impressive.
Been doing my best to get that Rubik's Cube shits. I can't wait to walk up to a party and be like, give me 3 minutes.
Just do it in 2 seconds, just super quick. Go on.
Yeah, crazy shit. No, I love this. For people who have got really crazy brains, especially during the podcast, because it's a conversation, I can kind of sit and twiddle with my eyes and with my brain, and it's almost allows me to focus. I noticed my flatmate was sitting doing her uni work on the computer. We were talking about this last time, doing your uni work on Zoom and stuff like that. And she sits and she cuts the split ends in her hair while the lecturer's talking to her and stuff like that. And for a lot of people, for me, I even thought, I was like, is she going to pay attention? But actually, there's method to the madness. When you've got something that is like meaningless, that and fiddles you, it allows you to kind of channel in and focus. So she's onto something there, like she's onto some magic.
I'm the same. I'm like so bad for just doodling in my like book whilst I'm taking notes.
The thing you do when you're young,
I'm still
when you're young instinctually.
Yeah. But it's just like a distraction again.
Yeah. So what's in the works right now then? Are you focused on uni work? Are you doing skate stuff? Are you doing joinery stuff? You were saying like let's just talk a little bit about joinery because for anyone listening, obviously I get a lot of feeling a lot of people listening to this are probably going to be skate enthusiasts if they know me. So maybe what things have you been enjoying doing with the joinery and what's popular just now and what you're doing well with?
So recently I've been doing like a lot of outside work, like gates, just like field gates and just like driveway gates. People love them out in the country because I'm out from borders, just near, well, I went to Peel's High School, but I live in Skirling now. And people love gates in the country and like bin stores and like sheds, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's been pretty good. I've been enjoying doing that because I get to go out and just relax and just build stuff. And it's just me listening to a podcast or something. It's enjoyable.
Future podcast, obviously.
Oh, obviously. Greatest podcast.
Yeah. Joe Rogan. Joe who? I don't know any Joe.
No.
Joe Pogan.
Who's Joe Rogan?
Yeah, people keep telling me about that guy. I don't know who he is.
No. But I don't know. Yeah, I've been doing that stuff. I've got a website on the way, which will hopefully be for the joinery and the skate stuff. Just try and
I think you should put them together. I think you need to put them together. You need to show that skating's not something that skating's not a separate thing. It's part of the same life and the same, and it can creep into everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And then hopefully, I don't know. I've ordered a couple test clothes, so I'll see how that goes. But I'm not too sure if I'll go down that route yet. I might leave it for a wee bit, but I don't know. I definitely need to build up the joinery side and even just make it like a proper business because right now it's not a registered business. It's nothing professional. So just trying to get it a wee bit smoother going, a wee bit more.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of professional standard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I think it's important to focus on your work before you focus on the business side stuff because you want to make sure that you actually enjoy doing it first, and it's something that you like to do, and it's something comfortable because it can be all too easy to find something you enjoy for a brief time, do it, and think you can go all in, and then very quickly you'll realize that you've just burnt yourself out, and it wasn't actually as enjoyable as you thought it was. And I think it's more important to like stay calm. Take some deep breaths, do a bit of meditation. Just make sure you're actually enjoying the work that you're doing. And then once you start to get some income from that, then start looking into registering as a sole trader or as a self-employed person because there's things in your life you have to consider when that happens. You have to consider how you're going to pay your taxes and all these other things. And it's like it's a little bit of admin work, but no more than just being an adult human being. You know what I mean? Everyone's got to pay bills and all that. So, like in America, they talk about balancing your checkbook. We never got taught any of that shit. But what that basically means is you're balancing what you have incoming and what you have outgoing. So you have to do those things. But all sounds really good, man.
I mean, you've got plenty of work to do.
Yeah, you mentioned that one of your first pieces in a restaurant as well up north. Is that right?
Yeah. So with the joinery side, it was when I was in first or second year in high school, just doing woodwork class. The teacher was like, "Oh, there's a competition in Rohan Show to make something out of reclaimed wood." So I was like, "Oh, might as well enter." This was like I just started woodwork, so I went round to my neighbours and he's like a bit of an older guy, and used some of his tools because obviously I had nothing on myself. And he'd basically just let me in his garage, and I just built a table. And it was nothing special. It was literally I just took a pallet apart and then put it back together and put four legs on each corner. I mean, it looked decent. It looked decent. And so I entered it in the show, not expecting to win or nothing, but I ended up winning first place. And then one of the head guys at the Raw Hand show that was going around during competition day, I actually met him, and he was like, "Oh, I've got a restaurant in Inverness called the Storehouse, and I'd really like to have one of your tables in there. Can I buy it?" So me being like, what was that? I must be like 14 or something. Was absolutely amazed. I thought, how can I make that and then somebody want to buy it? I thought I was just going to keep it for myself, but it was just amazing how like that kind of opportunity. If my teacher had never told me to enter that competition, then that snowball effect would never have happened.
Yeah.
So then I ended up making another table because I wanted to keep the first one as a wee momentum for myself. And then I ended up selling it like 150 quid to the guy, and it's still there to this day. So
Better.
pretty cool.
What's that? 5 years that table's been there.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
It's amazing me that now stuff that I've made is all over Scotland. Like
That should be on the website when it opens up. Built a table 5 years ago, still exists. If that's no proof of your work, do you know what I mean? Then what is? Do you know what I mean? It's like I made something out of wood and it still exists and is in use 5 years later, so it must be all right.
Yeah. Not falling apart yet.
Well, that's good, man. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. As you can tell, I've tried to keep myself a little bit calmer this time because I get too carried away, and I really want this to be about the guests and know about me and my ideas. Have you got any advice you would give people around about your age who are wanting to get into business and stuff like that? Because, like I said, when I do look at skate brands, I do worry a little bit.
Yeah,
it's going to that they're living in a dream world that if they just get some nice graphics and slap it on some clothes, they're going to be able to sell it.
definitely.
And I bet you've probably realized yourself that that's not as easy. It's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah,
just because you can make something nice looking doesn't mean anybody's going to buy it.
Nah.
There's when you're young, you forget that like 80% of the population are in business and they're your competition. And when you go into business, you realize that your people you're in competition with are 28, 38, 48, 58. You know what I mean? Like keep going.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the world, and those people aren't on Instagram or Facebook making themselves all big in that. They're hiding away in the background, running their brands. So have you got any advice for young people who are maybe studying, who maybe want to start getting into business or things like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've made these skateboards, and I'm gonna be brutally honest. I've not sold loads, so don't get excited about the money because nothing happens instantly. It takes a lot of work. Like you've got to be able to put in work any time of day, and like if your mates are like, "Oh, come on, let's go out, let's do something," sometimes you just got to say no and be like, "I've got to get down and work."
Yeah.
But just slowly build up. Like, don't think you're going to become famous overnight or any miracle's going to happen. Sometimes it'll take years. Sometimes it'll take ages. Even I'm nowhere near like where I want to be right now, but it's taken like you said, 5 years. Yeah, but it's taken like 5 years just to get to this level where I'm getting regular customers for the joinery business, and it's a dream come true. But honestly, it takes time, and you just got to stick with the process. Believe that whatever you're doing is leading to the right path to, and just you can do anything. Like pick anything that you enjoy, your passion, and you can turn that into a business.
Yeah.
It's easier than people think, but it definitely just takes some time and work, a lot of work.
Yeah, I think when you grow up, you're growing up in a community of people, your friends and your and your families and your neighbours and all the rest of it, and you can be quite easily sucked into the ideals of the local community.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's not a bad thing. Like I was saying earlier on, look, people going into trades and things like that. You know what I mean? Like my sister does like she's a nail tech, and she now runs like a kind of a nail salon / beauty salon in Bonner High Street called Voodoo Beauty, by the way. If anyone's listening, go and check them out. And it's one of those things that, like, to me, for a long time, seemed like such a cliche thing to be doing. Like, how many girls are doing nails, beauty, and hair? But the reality is, it's like that's just a trade, you know. And it's like, if you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with doing those things. They're comfortable lifestyles. But if you do want to deviate, and you are doing something that maybe your mates aren't really that keen on doing or aren't really that interested in, you know, but you know there's a community for it, just do a bit of research and find out, like, well, am I going to have the customers? Are they going to be there? You know, go on Google Trends. Google Trends is such an easy way to be able to. Google Trends lets you type in a search topic, you know, like something you would look for in Google, and then select where about in the world you want to look at, and it will tell you how popular that search term has been over the years. And it's really good because every now and then you might stumble across a term, or you know, or I'm thinking a young person might be like, oh, no one's going to like this, and then they search it, and it turns out that in America it's went whoop, and in the past 5 weeks everyone's been loving it. And if that's the case, go like straight away, just like start selling them it, because we live in a global world. Try and look after the planet and try not send too many deliverables abroad. If you can, try and have things made abroad, especially in the American market. I'm recently starting to look into the American market myself, just because of what I'm doing, and because of the fact that it's tied in with skating and a little bit of weed and like all these other things. It's much more attuned to their market, and I honestly want to try and tap into some of the financial gains I could make over there. I'm just at that age where I want to try and branch out a little bit. So, but yeah, for young people, just do your research and believe in yourself. And like you said, when your mates are saying, "Here, we're going to go and do this," if you were in the middle of doing something when they've messaged you, just message them and say, "Nah, not today, man." Like, get over the FOMO, get over the fear of missing out. Like, the reality is, they're the ones missing out. They could be helping you build a fucking empire, and instead they're away doing whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, because hopefully one day, I don't know, it might get big and be able to just sit around skating and go in a skate shop and just chill for the rest of your life.
You know what?
Not have to work a day.
I don't even know if that's what I want to do now. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's like I like sitting a bit chilling, but I feel myself getting more and more and more active. That
Yeah.
I honestly want to be out the house at 9 in the morning and not be back in till 9 at night. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I want to be and about helping people and doing things and being part of the community. And like when you start getting into business and you start doing the things you love, you didn't want to sit in.
Nah,
You know,
yeah.
relaxing starting your day when you're overworked. And it's like when you're loving what you're doing, getting overworked becomes a lot harder, especially when like I have a problem right now where I'm still on universal credit and I don't get a lot of income from other things yet. And so because of that, it's actually really hard to eat healthy, you know, and eat proper regular meals, enough that's going to give me the energy. I can sustain myself, but I can't fill myself with everything I need to go over and above because I'm 20 years old now. I just don't have that support around me. When you're young and you're getting fed 3 meals a day for absolute, like, you know, with zero input from yourself, it's like it's golden, really.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, I don't want to be get the idea rest at your head. You know what I mean? You don't want to be rested, but you want to be fucking going.
No.
Someone just walk in the room right there. Tell them that
Yeah.
fucking arsehole needs to get himself into fucking gear and get himself to bed early. I mean, what time is that now? Fucking 1:05, and this arsehole's just getting up.
Cal, you should have been getting ready, getting the day started earlier. You've not done enough. You've not done enough today, pal. Foobz.
Loving this enthusiasm. Tell them it's the
Oh,
one and only Fubu on the mic.
It's the one and only Foobz on the mic. Here he is. This is my flatmate, Callum.
What's happening, bro?
Oh,
Yeah, good.
wait.
I was going to say I could hear him, but you couldn't hear me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not much. I actually just got back from my bird's flat. That's why I've not started yet. That's my excuse.
Naughty. You shouldn't be in any flat right now.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Probably should have said that.
I am not going to target you, right? Everyone's fucking. I hate when I'm fucking seeing all these cunts partying and that, and I'm like, they like it, but at the same time, I'm jealous as fuck. Like, damn it! I just like want just back idea. Yeah, we were just talking about like, you know, the brand and shit like that, and then when you walked the room, I was like, this cunt's not fucking busy enough.
Oh
You're up here making a living. What kind of shit are you getting up to? So, what was your name again, Callum?
Yeah, my name's Callum. Yeah.
What are you doing in that as well, or what?
Well, I'm mainly here for moral support, but I also do some like technical stuff as well. Like I'm doing the website at the moment. And I've actually just been working on that as well. We've just been getting a lot of the photos for products and stuff into the website. So I'm making the kind of I'm designing the product page. So like basically what you'll see when you're looking for boards and like other kind of stuff as well, and the mugs as well, because the mugs are flying off the shelves.
Get your ogle mug.
I've seen them actually. Get my Ogle mug. Send me a fucking Ogle mug. I've got my cup full of motivation mug. I think mugs get given to me.
No, I mean, we should definitely send you one of the mugs just to test it out. But
if you send me that mug, I'll have it on every single episode, so it's pretty much doing you a service.
Okay,
you've made that promise now. You've made that promise.
If you send me a mug, I will have it on every single episode for the foreseeable future until someone decides to send me another mug.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
If someone sends you a mug, can we then send you a new mug?
Yeah, a new design. We'll make a fresh design every time.
I mean, it might just become a thing. I might just have hundreds of mugs flooding in my advertising. You know what I mean? But nah, if you send me a mug, I would use it on the video for sure.
Sure, for sure. Yeah.
Nah, that's good. It's good that you guys are fucking busy in that. We're just coming over an hour and 10 minutes, so I'm never going to cut it here. Do you want to give people your links and stuff like that and tell them where they can find you and whatnot?
Yeah, so find me on Instagram at OGLE Skate and OGLE Joinery, and hopefully the new website soon, which will be up hopefully by the end of the month.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll just find us on the streets skating.
Nice.
Come in to us, say hi.
Absolutely, man. Right, it's been an absolute pleasure, boys. Enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you keep fucking busy, because at the end of the day, what is it? Only Thursday. That's a work day as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely.
But no, it's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'll speak to you in a bit.
Sweet. Thanks.
Later, guys.
Bye.